All right, Naomi, take it away.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another educational event at Friends of Gong Road. Most of you know me. My name is Naomi Mizwa. I am the Donor Relations Associate here. So I make sure that sponsors and donors have the best experience that they can and try to get more sponsors and donors as excited about Friends of Gong Road and our mission as I am. So I always tell people I have the best job in the world because I do. And for those of you that don't know, and this is something that maybe most people might not know because we don't always talk about the difference between Friends of Gong Road and Gong Road Children's Foundation. We're an umbrella organization. So at Friends of Gong Road, it is our job to, we're in the US, we have 4 staff in the US, myself and Michonne included, and it's our job to make sure that we have the funding and the support available to our staff in Kenya so that they are able to produce programming and get more students into the program and make sure that our mission is fulfilled. So Gong Road Children's Foundation is our sister organization in Nairobi. And our program manager there is Kelvin, and then we have all the case managers, our tech people that help out in Alimu Hub. If you don't know what Alimu Hub is, we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. So it's our job just to make sure that they have everything that they need so that we can fulfill our mission, which is to empower Nairobi children living in poverty to transform their lives through education, employment, or education support leading to employment. So we have 4 pillars in order to make that happen. And we knew when we started this organization that it takes more than just education for someone to transform their lives, especially when someone lives in the slums. So think about it. If these students didn't have parents that went to 9 to 5 jobs every day, they wouldn't necessarily know what it means to get up and go to work every day or to go to a job interview, how you're supposed to dress to make sure that you have time management skills. Or if living in the slums, you see a lot of people using drugs or people your age not in school and getting pregnant. Like we wanted to make sure that they had all of the things that they needed to be a well-rounded, educated adult outside of just the formal education. So we have 4 pillars, as you can see, education. And so that's what sponsors pay for. That's where your $100 a month goes to. It's making sure that students, the students that come into our program have really high learning potential, really high scores on their tests so that they are people that take education seriously and want to work hard because school in Kenya is really, really difficult. And the way that they teach is really difficult. And so it takes a really disciplined student to do that. And so they'll get their formal education through schools, and we work with partner schools. And then they'll have the computer lab, library, all of that through Limu Hub. And then health and well-being and supportive community are going to be kind of the programs that we talk about more today. So they have Saturday program where they go every Saturday and they're able to meet with their case managers, meet with a nurse if they need, get any pills that they might need, any, like if they're like, I can't see very well, they have the opportunity to like tell that to someone and go see an eye doctor. They always have a hot meal. That's also our health and well-being is also where they'll get the sexual and reproductive health trainings and the drug awareness trainings, mental health trainings. So making sure that they have all this knowledge that they might not have if they weren't in our program to help them be that well-rounded adult. And then when they get older, they also have life skills trainings and more mentorships and opportunities to, when they graduate from secondary to post-secondary, they have the opportunity to do a program where you are applying for a scholarship, even though you know you have a scholarship through your sponsor, but saying like, this is what I want to do with my life. I've researched it. This is the kind of school I want to go to, so that they have those presentation skills. And then in the future, they'll have an economic empowerment. So when they're in post-secondary and graduate, all the things that they'll need to be a well-rounded adult in the working field. We also want to support them when they're getting a job and how to get a job, but we'll talk about that at a later time. So we have tons of programming that we do for students, and we're not going to be able to talk about all of them. Michonne, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So these are most of the programming that we do for our students, which you can see is a lot because we want them to have everything they need to succeed and transform their own lives. And so we're going to be focused today on mostly primary and secondary programming. And we took maybe 5 from each category, 4 from each category, and we're going to go into detail about those. But if you ever have any questions about other programming that we're doing, just let me know. And in the future, so in our next education series in June, we're going to do information about camp because camp is coming back for the first time since 2019. So we're very excited about that. And then later on in the year, we're going to do more about post-secondary and alumni. So you hear more about those employment programs in the future. But today, Michonne is going to take it away for the rest of the presentation to talk about our programming for primary and secondary students.
Thanks, Naomi. Does anybody have any questions before I dive in a little bit deeper on these things? Good. Okay. If you've been around for a little bit, you might remember when we were taking donations to build Ilimu Hub. So this is on our campus. It's behind a gate, and it's a private area for the students. The top floor is our library and the bottom floor is our computer lab. So this has become definitely a central location for the kids in our program since it's been around for about the last 9 months or so. Kids come for computer training here at all levels, from the tiniest little ones who have never seen or touched a computer before, all the way through to the alumni. They can come and use it to apply for jobs or to get job training. So everybody uses the computer lab. And then they also do literacy classes. So our librarian, Lucy, has taken some initiative to do things with the kids with that. And then they also do gatherings in here. When I was in Kenya in the fall, we had a lot of staff meetings in here because it's just kind of a nice big open space with lots of seating where people are able to gather. So it's really kind of transformed the organization's ability to provide these programs. We used to go to a church that allowed us to use their space, and now we have our own space on our campus that has everything that we need to be able to provide these programs for the kids. For the primary kiddos, the main things that they're doing are Saturday program, financial literacy, computer certifications, which are the last 3. So that can include computer package, programming, and Scratch programming. And I'll just touch on each of those things briefly. Saturday program you may have heard about. The kids love it. Every single Saturday, the kids come and they get a hot meal. They will play games. I'll go into more detail about that in a minute. And it's just kind of a place for them to be able to connect, read books, all of that kind of thing. Financial literacy is exactly what it sounds like. We'll go more into that. And then I just wanted to show some photo examples of the different types of ways that we're teaching kids to learn to use computers. These are kids who don't always have electricity in their homes. They don't have working bathrooms in their homes. So the fact that they not only have good computers that they're able to use, but they're also able to learn a broad set of skills that are going to allow them to break into a job market later on in life that they would otherwise never have had access to. So the girl in the bottom right was on a Scratch-a-thon. And so a Scratch-a-thon is something where kids are learning basic coding and they're able to kind of build things from scratch. And they're able to kind of get some of those more advanced skills, but in a really fun way for little kids. And then the girl on the right, you can see that she's in kind of a design program. And so we teach them that there's lots of different things you can do with computers. You can make art, and you can also learn code to build things. So Saturday program, the kids come on Saturdays. It started out as a way for us to be able to provide a meal for the kids on the weekends. When they're at school, they receive meals. But on the weekends, the kids were kind of left to their own devices. And so we wanted to provide some kind of structure for them. So it started as a way to be able to feed them and do health checks like Naomi mentioned. So we have a nurse on site who will deliver multivitamins and deworming vitamins. They can do hearing checks and vision checks. If they have other health ailments that are bothering them, they can get referrals and get checked out there. It also gives the case managers an opportunity to be able to connect with the kids. We have started doing about in the last year or so, I would say, some therapeutic practices such as mindfulness. You can see the kids are doing a little meditation mindfulness there in the picture on the left. We are doing art therapy, which has been hugely popular with the kids. So we're really trying to have this holistic support of them emotionally, physically. You can see the kids over on the other side are doing karate. They're able to pick a extracurricular activity of their choice to participate in with little clubs. It's very cute. They really have a great time with it. My personal favorite is the dance crew. They choreograph dances and then perform them for everybody else. It's really, really special. And so it really just gives kids an opportunity to connect to each other. It gives them some place to go so they're not just stuck at home. It gives them a meal, and it allows them to kind of be kids. There isn't, if you've been to Kenya or if you've been to somewhere that's severely impoverished or that has slums, these big grassy areas are not readily available. And so having somewhere where they can just go and be kids together with some structure and some adults who really love and care about them is super, super important for their development. So Saturday program is very important, and the kids really love it. Financial literacy, we call it the little gurus. The kids come and they get programming in the form of a game. So we have a customized board game where the kids are able to kind of start learning basic money principles, how to manage money. These are kids, obviously, as we've said a number of times, who don't experience money. They don't use money very often. And so being able to teach them healthy financial habits is just going to set them up for success in their future. So it's really starting to introduce them to the wider world, how money works globally, how it can work for them and their families. And so this is something that isn't talked about a lot in lots of cultures, not just in Kenya. I mean, here in the US, sometimes people kind of shy away from talking about money too. But it's a super important part about being able to be successful. We've learned from our alumni questionnaire that a lot of the kids go on after they graduate and they end up actually financially supporting somebody else in their family once they become adults. And so being able to manage money is just going to allow them to be able to support more people and to be able to do that responsibly. The next thing is computer training. I talked about this a little bit already. Some of the other important things that the kids learn is internet safety, rules and regulations, things that are really, really important. We put that in place by having them use a portal. If you're a sponsor, you'll know that your kid communicates with you through their portal. They have their own portal. And so they get to learn about creating a password and what it means to not share specifically information on sites, what a spam email is, all of those kinds of things that we know will just serve them better as they get older. They learn about Excel. So they learn about Microsoft Excel and how to put in data and make a graph, things like that. They're learning about Scratch programming, which I touched on earlier. And then they're getting an introduction to web development where they're learning how to build really, really basic web pages. So I know when I was their age, I was learning very basic typing. I remember having my hands on a keyboard and having a wooden box over my fingers and learning that. And these kids at the same age are learning web development in Scratch. So it's really, really incredible that they're able to have this opportunity, and it's just going to help them advance. You can see how proud they are that they can do these skills, and it's just going to make such a difference for them in their lives. So this is something that I'm personally really, really excited about. We're not going to talk about this today, but I just wanted you to see the development from kids learning how to make circles and kind of do really basic things on computers, all the way through to what happens in post-secondary. In post-secondary, they're learning WordPress, Java, databases, web scripting languages. So we're able to take these kids that have this foundation of understanding basic computers, and once they get out of high school, we're able to give them this really in-depth, really job-specific trainings, and they love it. So I just wanted you to kind of get a quick glimpse about how that transition goes for them as they get older. In secondary, so primary is elementary school aged kids, secondary is high school aged kids. So some of the things we're going to touch on are the drug and substance abuse training, mental health training, sexual and reproductive health training, life skills, and career guidance. These are things that have been developed in multiple partnerships for the students. You can see a lot of them are group-based, and that's really, really important because a lot of what the students need when they become older, once they become teenagers, is that social, emotional kind of intelligence. That's what's going to help pull them forward in their futures. So for mental health and drug awareness training, drug use is definitely a reality for the kids that are living in slums, as is mental illness. And so what we try to do with these kids is just give them factual information about this so that they can be well informed. They don't have anybody typically that's talking to them about this. They've maybe seen the effects of drug use or of mental illness in their families or in their communities, but they don't have a lot of actual facts about it. As we know, it's hard to avoid something if you don't know anything about it. And so just giving them the information that they need, and then kind of taking some of the mystique out of it and really making it something that can be concrete is going to help them be able to avoid peer pressure. It's going to help to increase social emotional development, and confidence, all those things that are really important to be able to avoid going down this path. It's the same kind of training that that high school students here receive. I remember being in a drug and mental health class when I was in high school. The schools there don't provide this kind of education. And so we feel like it's really important that our kids receive it, even if they get it from us instead of being at school. Same goes for sexual and reproductive health. A lot of our students are in our program. Most of our students are in our program because their families have been affected by HIV/AIDS. So sexual and reproductive health information is extremely important for these kids. They may have a parent or guardian that's died from AIDS. They may be HIV positive themselves. There's kind of a whole wide array of experience that these kids have with sexual and reproductive health awareness or the lack thereof. So the interesting thing about this program is that we actually use youth peer providers, or YPPs. You can see in the bottom photo, that's actually Wentz. He's one of our case managers now, and he was a YPP when he was in high school. So YPPs are the students who have been identified as kind of the leaders. They are the ones who are trained by Planned Parenthood Global, and they give the other students the information and the training. So the reason that we do this is because we've found that it's easier for students to be able to open up about questions or to be able to be more vulnerable if they're with their peers, rather than talking to somebody that's an adult. They don't want to feel dumb. We found that it's easier if they can do this with other peers. So this has been super successful for us. We've seen a decrease in unplanned pregnancies, especially in our high school students after them going through this program. And it's just important information to learn. So we have heard from the students that they really appreciate this information, and it's not something, it's like the financial literacy. It's just something that isn't talked about as much, but it's a really important part of life. So we're really proud of this program and proud of the results that we've seen from it. Life Skills is one of my personal favorites for the kids. It was developed by a former board member and her husband, Megan and Evan Feige. The point of Life Skills is to have the kids learn about who they are. So they learn about emotional intelligence, about personality styles, stress management, leadership styles. They practice how to communicate with people who have different styles from them. They have all kinds of different like not homework, but different activities that they do together where they learn about different types of emotions. I've seen them, I've seen some of like the written reports that they've done after they learn what kind of personality type they have and what that could mean for them in their future. As they move out of high school and move into post-secondary school, as part of that process, we ask them as they're choosing what kind of a post-secondary education they want to receive, we ask them to say, okay, what personality type are you and how is this future career path aligned with that personality type? How can your personality type feed into what you want to do in the future? And so we're asking them to not only know what their personality type is or know what their learning style is, but to be able to apply that to their life and figure out how to use those skills to propel them into the future. So again, this is something that I have personally seen a difference in the kids in the 6 years that I've been here. The students who graduated from high school before we started this program didn't really know how to interact with people that well. They knew how to interact with their peers, but not with anybody really outside their peer group. They were pretty shy, they were pretty withdrawn, they didn't have a lot of confidence. And now, after the kids go through this life skills program, you can just see their confidence. You can just see how much it's meant to them to really start to learn and understand who they are and what makes them unique. So this is something that I'm pretty excited about, that the kids get to experience. Career guidance, this flows kind of directly out of life skills. This is where the students work one-on-one with their case manager to figure out what they want to do in their life. So it takes a variety of parts of their lives. So they look at their grades that they're getting in school. Maybe they have really high math and science scores, for example. They look at their self-awareness from what they've learned in life skills. They are exposed to different career paths. We have people who come in and talk to the kids about what their job is to just kind of give them some exposure to different types of work that can be done in the world. And so after they've kind of gathered all of that information, they have 3 individual sessions with their case managers in their junior and senior year of high school, where they kind of process and figure out what they might want to do in their lives. And so we've really seen the kids start to be more successful in post-secondary programs as they've been able to make a more informed decision about what they want to do with their lives. So thinking about what are your interests, what are your skills, what are your weaknesses, and what are the things that you're interested in doing in your life, and taking that and pushing that into something that's realistic. Today on social media, we're going to be posting, it's International Women's Day, so happy Women's Day to all of you who are women on this call. We're going to be posting a video of a bunch of little girls who are sharing what they want to do in their lives. And it's just made me think about these kids who go from being those little kids who are like, I want to be a pilot and I want to be a doctor. And they apply those interests to what they've learned from life skills. And then they actually come out on the other side with something that's tangible that they can do. So I just really love the process for them. And I think the case managers do a really, really great job with helping the kids figure it out. It's a tough process for kids anywhere in the world. So it's been really great for them. That's what we have. Does anybody have questions about any of the things we went over? I'm just going to put back on the screen this whole list of things that the kids get to do in their time with our program. We didn't touch on all of them. There's a lot of things. The kids are doing these programs on their school breaks. So again, when they come home for break, they're home for anywhere from a month to 2 months in between their school terms, and they need something to do. And so this is just giving them structure, it's giving them that community, and it's allowing them to build their skills. So any questions or comments? Naomi, do you have anything?
Jackie had a really good question that I'm hoping you can help me with, because I have no idea.
Okay.
She said, I understand that AI may displace jobs for programmers. Are we teaching AI development to the children?
We are not. That is I think above our pay grade.
Yeah, I didn't
That's-
even know anything about that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think that in this part of the world, that's not as much of an issue at the moment. But yeah, it's a very interesting question. What else? Does anybody else have any questions about programming or what we do or anything about the organization?
Michonne and Naomi, at one point, you all were talking about the potential for a trip to Nairobi and this year, but it's gotten late now, so I'm guessing not this year. What's the story with that?
Yep. So we weren't able to make it work this year for a couple of different reasons. So February 2024 is what we're finishing up with. So I've gotten all the bids from different travel agencies that we can work with, and I'm working with our executive director to then give it to the board. So I'm hoping by the June newsletter, I will have everything ready for us to meet for people that want to go in the February 2024 trip.
Okay,
And you're on that email list, so I got you.
perfect. Thank you.
Of course. Elaine says, can you share a few stories of kids that have gone through the program and are working?
That's a great question. Keith, do you have anybody on the top of your head? I have a pretty good relationship with the kids who have gone through the program and are now my coworkers. So I'm happy to share those stories. But Keith, do you have anybody on the top of your head who might be good to share?
Sure, I'll toot my own horn because I have two of the students that I've sponsored that are working. One's name is Jacqueline. She was one of, I think she was like the third student sponsored by the organization. She was not, let's say, academically the strongest. She had to repeat a year, but she had a great attitude and she was just one of those kind of effervescent personalities. So somehow or other, she made it through post-secondary. Her dream was first it was to be work in a hotel at the front desk. And when she went to present to the scholarship committee, she turned to Paula and said, "This is the first time I've ever been in a hotel." So how she decided she wanted to work in a hotel, we're not sure. She abandoned that, and then she was starry-eyed about being a receptionist in an insurance office. Again, she didn't do that. So what she did is she worked for Kribulu for a little while as our receptionist. And somebody saw her because she was just one of those people that, when the people would come in, she'd greet them, she'd chat with them. And she said, the woman said, "You need to go talk to my husband. He runs a veterinary company. And we think you'd be great in customer service." So now she's a customer service rep. And last I knew, she was studying to get into sales. So that would be a big step up. And that's a huge success. And then another one is Eric Body. Eric was our first, he and Victor, the one who runs our computer programming now, they were the first university graduates from the program. They graduated the same year. Eric worked for a company called IDD. I can't remember what it stands for, but they basically they transcribe written text into computers. And their clients are things like Oxford University or, schools that are trying to get historical text into digital. And he's worked there for many years. And he is now a supervisor, and he's doing just great. So that's two of mine.
Thanks, Keith. I appreciate that.
I think we're going to be sharing on our Facebook page. If you follow us on Facebook, Elaine, we are sharing about once a week success stories of students who have gone through the program and are working. So they're kind of always, we have tons of them coming. So you're welcome to follow us on Facebook as well. And we're always sharing stories about those kids. They're pretty awesome. Anything else? All right, I'm gonna stop the recording here.